Do you know which NYC borough has the highest GDP per capita? Okay, you can probably guess, but can you guess how high it is? We're going to use data from ursus.com to find the answer. GDP per capita, for those who don't know, is a calculation used to give an idea of how much economic activity every individual contributes. And it's typically used to measure how relatively prosperous an area is. And remember, to find GDP per capita, you define GDP by population to get your answer. Now to start things off, the borough with the lowest GDP per capita is the Bronx at $64,100. This is pretty low in general when you compare it to the US's GDP per capita, which is $83,500. But it's still very high on a global standard. After the Bronx is Queens, whose GDP per capita is $84,800. And after Queens, we have Staten Island, whose GDP per capita is $88,500. And the borough with the second highest GDP per capita is Brooklyn, with a respectable $92,500. And lastly, the borough with the highest GDP per capita, to no surprise, is Manhattan. The GDP per capita of Manhattan is $299,100. That's almost $300,000 per person. And that's 3 times higher than the nation's. And I had to double check the math on that one, but it's right. The economic output for the island was $478.8 billion in April of 2024, divided by 1.6 million people. And for some context, New York City's GDP per capita as a whole is $119,500, which is very high, but it's being skewed by Manhattan's numbers. All GDP and population data was sourced from ursus.com, and be sure to follow to answer more questions like,